have given us our governments, our laws, our institutions of higher learning, and they've given us
all. On mute.
Is at the bottom of all of the world's problems, because the people who are in power have given us our governments, our laws, our institutions of higher learning, and they've given us all our religions. Religions come from the same people who have given you your banking system, your governmental system, so that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are nothing more than Masonic concoctions to entertain the people and keep them occupied. The religions of this world are designed to distract your mind and to give you something to hope for. I was amazed how commerce, government, religion all work together. Christianity and Judaism and Islam, those three religions are referred to as the people of the book, because all three rely on a book: the Quran, the Bible, and the New Testament. I believe the New Testament is a metaphor. Judaism today is actually Hinduism. It's connected through the ancient Hindus, many of their teachings called Brahmanism. And you put an A in front of Brahma, it becomes Abram or Abraham. And so the whole religious thing about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all of this stuff is Hinduism. Bankers, the politicians in the Middle East picked up on the old Hindu stuff and fashioned a new religion called Judaism. And out of Judaism comes Christianity.
This ebook basically has all the syncretism between many religions, exploiting many truths. So you have to understand that the truth is not in one religion.
Religion is at the bottom of all.
The bottom of it all.
Of all of the world's problems, because the people.
Peace. Everybody that's coming in. I'm about to get right into it because I don't want to be all day, but I definitely want to come back and bring you guys some more information on what we stopped at last night and a few other things. I think I'm going to go over a couple of very important things as well in relations to that. I want to kind of finish that out, just a little bit of it, but yeah, I think I will. We're just going to finish this page out, maybe the next page, so you guys understand when it comes to, we were going over the information when it comes to chancery and equity and things of that nature, banking, you being able to use your equity, the equity that you give away every damn day. Every time you give your information out on the application, is equity that you are giving away to these damn people. So until you understand what's going on with that, they're going to continue to decipher from you. This is why they're changing this banking system, because people have come in on this system and figured their crap out. So let's get right to it. Let me turn the volume up and let's go.
Contained in a separate paragraph and covering a subdivision of the account or a single matter, and each paragraph should be given in its proper logical order. Ch. Prince 1221. Note 28 Dan. Ch. Prince 1232. Note. In ease of a referee for an account, Dr. for a reference as to more matters than one, the order should be divided into parts, each part contained in a separate paragraph, and covering a subdivision of the account, or a single matter, and each paragraph should be given in its proper logical order, or legal sequence, and be consecutively numbered. The paragraphing and consecutive numbering of an order of reference is necessary to an orderly and intelligible report. For the order of reference may specify when a report shall be made, and when fled, and may state what notices of the taking of the account shall be given, and on whom served. 5. The order should, also, state whether any and what evidence on file may be considered in taking the account, and whether any and what new evidence may be filed by the parties, and may state what evidence shall not be considered. The court may, also, make all necessary orders as to the production of documents, books, vouchers, or other evidence in possession of the parties. Each party should be required, before the taking of proof on a reference begins, to file with the master a statement of all his items of charge against the other party, and no item not contained in such statement should be considered. Point 26. Many forms of references will be given in subsequent pages of this treatise, which can readily be found by the index. 601. Form of a reference. The following general form is given, to aid in drawing a reference. Before drawing the reference, it would be well to consider the preceding section, I order of reference.
Listen.
John Doe, versus number 619 Richard Roe, et al. This cause came on to be heard this Decemberist, 1906, before Chancellor Hugh G. Kyle,
Chancery
upon the
Court.
bill, the answers of all the
Equity.
defendants thereto, the cross bill of the defendant Sarah Roe and the
Man,
answer
they may
thereto,
think this ain't
and the
important,
proof
but y'all
and the
better
cause,
listen.
including the agreement signed by all the parties, except Sarah Roe, which is filed and marked A, an argument of counsel having very heard, the Chancellor is of opinion that this is a proper case for a reference to the master. Or, in a proper case, the decree may declare the rights and liabilities of the parties, and lay down the rules and principles to govern the master in
The
stating
rights
the
of the
account,
parties.
or making the report. See Post 81040. The master is, therefore, directed to hear proof, including that on file, and report to the next term of the court, assist, what NC, setting out the matters to be reported on, putting catchhead in a separate paragraph, if possible, and numbering the paragraphs consecutively. See Post 88,975, 1040. 2D, whether NC, see index, for various orders of deference. The master will NC, here set out any special rules for the guidance of the master as to evidence, or the force and
Who
effect
is the
of documents,
master?
Settlements, previous reports,
Who's the
or
master?
agreements between the parties, or as to requiring the parties to file their respective charges or discharges.
Charges or
See
discharges.
Post
Discharging
958.
the debt.
All other matters
Pay
are reserved
attention.
until the incoming of the master's report. $602. Reference on further directions on the incoming of the master's report. The Chancellor may confirm it, in whole or in part, or he may re-emit it in whole or in part, or he may recommit it with further directions. It is not necessary in the original order of reference to reserve the right to give further directions. Point 27. The Chancellor is not bound by any directions contained in an order of reference. References are made to obtain facts, and the Chancellor may make such changes in his references, and such additions thereto, as he may deem proper to obtain the facts necessary for a complete adjudication of all the matters in controversy. 24. The deficiencies, disorders and general confuse. Wonderful how much order and lucidity a skillful eye sometimes found in master's reports, are as and diligent master will deduce from a chaos of much the fault of the solicitor who drew the order. Unmethodical orders and heterogeneous evidence of reference as of the master who made the report. 25 ch Rule 481, Post 1193. Confused, illogical, and chaotic references, neither. 26. Of course such statements would be amendable paragraph head nor numbered. Often result in similar like any other pleading. See Post 8958. Reference on further directions. John Den, number 723 Us. Richard Fenn, follow the decree on exceptions to a report, in $616, Post, down to the words, all other matters, and add, the master is further directed to report whether any trees were cut and removed from said land by the defendant, and if so, when cut and the value thereof, and he may here add additional proof
We're
on
going to
this
get to the
point.
juice real quick. Let me get
Article
right to
IL. Proceedings upon a reference.
it. I don't even know which one I wanna go to.
$603.
We're going to go here.
When and where a reference is to 606. Opening the account.
Give me the information and start details. If something's going on, how you can set up the account, setting up, making sure, as you guys watch, if you watched it last night, telling you what you need, what is required when setting up for Chancery Court, right? So this is very important. I want you guys to understand this money system. Let's go. Listen up. Listen up.
Dedication. Give me control of a nation's money and I care not who makes the laws. Meyer Emschel Rothschild, the creature from Jekyll Island, p. 218. The money power preys upon the nation in times of peace, and conspires against it in times of adversity. It is more despotic than monarchy, more insolent than autocracy, more selfish than bureaucracy. It denounces, as public enemies, all who question its methods or throw light upon its crimes. I have two great enemies, the Southern Army in front of me, and the financial institutions in the rear.
The Army and
two,
Finance.
the one in my rear is my greatest
Doing the
foe.
same.
Abraham Lincoln, 1564. The division of the United States into two federations of equal force was decided long before the Civil War by the high financial power of Europe. These bankers were afraid that the United States, if they remained in one bloc and as one nation, would attain economical and financial independence, which would upset their financial domination over the world. The voice of the Rothschilds predominated. They foresaw the tremendous booty if they could substitute two feeble democracies, indebted to the financiers, to the vigorous republic, confident and self-providing. Therefore they started their emissaries in order to exploit the question of slavery and thus dig an abyss between the two parts of the republic. German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, 1876. The money scam 2 of 140. Last revised, October 18, 2009. 245 TREO Witchenskusgewirkt Seats in any area VTSY
Let's
SS.
get right to it. I think we're gonna go here because I want you guys to understand the banking. So the gold standard for freedom, right? Let's start there. I actually want to go before that. Maybe I'll go back, but let's see. Y'all really don't understand this. I don't believe. I swear I'm trying to make sure y'all getting a clear understanding there. I'm just not sure. All right, there we go. Let's start here. All right.
Conmernan 38 39 44 L 42 43 44 Energy Reserves Group Incorporated v Kansas Power and Light Co. 459 US 400 412 to 413 and N14 1983, noting that a stricter level of scrutiny applies under the contract clause when a state alters its own contractual obligations. Cf. Perry. Super at 350 to 351, drawing a clear distinction between Congress's power over private contracts and the power of the Congress to alter or repudiate the substance of its own engagements. The generality requirement will almost always be met where, as in Deming, the governmental action bears upon the government's contract as it bears upon all similar contracts between citizens. Deming v. United States, 1 CTCL 190, 191, 1865. Deming is less helpful, however, in cases where, as here, the public contracts at issue have no obvious private analogues. United States v. Winstar
Public
Corp.
contract.
518 U.S. 839, 1996. Since all taxes are collected in Federal Reserve notes, then the IRS cannot be part of the government, and in fact nowhere is authorized to even exist anywhere within Title 31
Not
of
the
the
IRS.
U.S. Code. It is a private debt collector whose sole function is to regulate the supply of fiat currency and thereby stabilize the supply and value of that currency. See, Origins and Authority of the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, form
Origins and Authority. Check it out.
05.043 http://sedem.org/form/formindex.htm12. The gold standard, a standard for freedom. At one time the case for the gold standard was practically self-evident, undisputed by most economists and appreciated by both laymen and professionals. Today, however, the case for gold is buried under decades of propaganda, misconceptions, and myths. Yeah. It has been only recently that the case for the gold standard has begun to surface from under the policymakers' anti-gold debris. Consequently, gold is once again gaining the attention and interest it so rightly deserves. Oh, really? Today's free market advocates of the gold standard differ from past advocates. For example, free market advocates do not exclude silver or other commodities from their concept of a gold standard. So that's the only true money, right? Indeed. They do not even insist that gold must be money. The case for the gold standard is actually the case for market-originated commodity money, and the case against government-regulated fiat money. It is simply an extension of the case for free markets which respect the rights
Free
of man,
markets.
and the case against controlled markets which
Yep.
violate the rights of man.
Violates the
To be
rights.
concerned with the gold standard is to be concerned with a free economy,
Peace, brothers.
regulated by the values and choices of men, rather than a controlled economy in which the values and choices of men are regulated by government. This concern for man's freedom to express values and exercise choices is derived from the deeper concern for justice and for man's right to property. The man concerned with justice does not aim to force others to use gold as money. Rather, he insists that government has no right to prevent him and other men from using gold as money if they choose.
It's
The
in
man
the gold
concerned with
standard.
property rights does not urge government to legislate pro-gold policies in order to arbitrarily increase the value, popularity, or status of gold. Rather, he insists that government stop inflating, since this arbitrarily decreases the value of his money claims to property. Antagonists of the gold standard claim that it is impractical. But the gold standard is, in fact, the most practical monetary system yet conceived by man.
Real value, current.
However, the gold standard's primary virtue does not lie in its practicality, it lies in its morality. Those concerned about such things as freedom, justice, the preservation of property rights and purchasing power, would do well to consider the moral case for the gold standard, for, once understood, it is the individual's best defense against government confiscation of property through inflation. The fact that prevents government from indulging in inflationary schemes under the gold standard can be best summed up in a phrase: governments can't print gold. But to understand the implications of this statement, and the virtues of having gold as money, it is first necessary to understand what money is and what money is not. 12.1 What money is
and what it ain't.
A man on a desert island has no need for money. He produces the goods he needs to survive, and consumes all he produces. Similarly, a primitive society has no need for money. The kinds of goods produced are extremely limited, and if individuals desire to exchange their goods with one another, they can do so through direct exchange, i.e., barter. But under a division of labor economy where men specialize in production and where there is a variety of goods produced, desired, and traded, there is a very definite need for money. For how else could Mr. Jones in Florida sell his oranges to men throughout the world and then buy Mr. Smith's best-selling novel, unless there existed some medium of exchange acceptable to all parties? The Money Scam 105 of 140. Thus, money is that commodity which serves as the medium of exchange by virtue of its money originates from men's desire for indirect exchange. And more, since indirect exchange usually occurs between strangers like Smith and Jones, money must be an object which is mutually valued. Thus, money is that commodity which serves as a medium of exchange by virtue of its high degree of marketability. The task of discovering which commodity will be most valued by and most acceptable to men as a medium of exchange can only be accomplished through a market process, for it is only through the market that men's values and choices are properly reflected. The verdict of the market has reflected three general requirements for any lasting medium of exchange: that money should be generally acceptable to most men, that it should be practical to use, and that it should be relatively stable in value. If these requirements are satisfied, the result is a money of trust.
Money of trust.
Trust is the lifeblood of money, and money is the lifeblood of any economy based on the indirect exchange of goods and services. A money of trust serves to facilitate exchange among men, and in doing so, breeds a healthy and growing economy.
Trust.
But if men should ever begin to mistrust money, the market will immediately reflect this loss of confidence. Then money will begin to lose stability, lose its acceptability, and will soon become impractical to use in exchange. Mistrusted money is the antithesis of the lifeblood of an economy. It's a kind of bad blood circulating between men throughout the economy, breeding confusion and suspicion. The fact that men's mistrust of money will result in monetary crises and collapse underscores.
Hold on, let me make sure, because I think I skipped something. Yeah, I didn't go back far enough. Hold on, guys, we're going to go back a bit, because I definitely skipped. I knew I skipped something, because it went into too much about the money itself, but I wanted you guys to hear this. HJR 192. This is very pertinent. Listen very closely, guys. I'm going to go over this information. Is what should I go up here? I could drop this in the chat though. Hold on. So you guys could have it. I should be able to I'm gonna just collect it here. Start here. Okay. All right, let me see if these are 3 different hyperlinks. I'm not sure if it's going to let you guys collect it as a hyperlink, but I want you to understand. So I'm going to go back. We're going to go up here. I'm going to get the HJR 192, but 110 US 421 and 416 are important as well. So we're going to start right here, okay? Y'all ready? Let's go.
Title 31, Subtitle 3, Chapter 31, Subchapter 2, Sector 3124. Sector 3124. Exemption from taxation.
Exemptions.
Stocks and obligations of the United States government are exempt from taxation by a state or political subdivision of a state. The exemption applies to each form of taxation that would require the obligation, the interest on the obligation, or both, to be considered in computing a tax, except 1. A non-discriminatory franchise tax or another non-property tax instead of a franchise tax, imposed on a corporation, and 2. An estate or inheritance tax.
Estate or inheritance
tax. The tax status of interest on obligations and dividends, earnings, or other income from evidences of ownership issued by the government or an agency, and the tax treatment of gain and loss from the disposition of those obligations and evidences of ownership is decided under the Internal Revenue Code of 1986,
26 U.S.C.
1 ETSEQ. An obligation that the Federal Housing Administration had agreed, under a contract made before March 1, 1941, to issue at a future date, has the tax exemption privileges provided by the authorizing law at the time of the contract. This subsection does not apply to obligations and evidences of ownership issued by the District of Columbia, a territory, or possession of the United States, or a department, agency, instrumentality, or political subdivision of the district, territory, or possession. Therefore, your Federal Reserve notes, FRNs, are not taxable by federal state governments.
They're not
because
taxable.
They aren't really lawful money, but debt obligations.
Hold up, listen.
This subsection does not apply to obligations and evidences of ownership issued by the District of Columbia, a territory, or possession of the United States, or a department, agency, instrumentality, or political subdivision of the district, territory, or possession. Therefore, your Federal Reserve notes, FRNs, are not taxable by federal state governments, because
your Federal Reserve notes, your FRNs, they are not taxable by federal state government because they aren't really lawful money, but they are actually debts and obligations. A fiat note is a debt obligation. It's a debt obligation. It is not money. It is not equivalent to gold, silver, or legal tender. It is not equivalent to a proper bill of exchange, an endorsement, or the equivalent of corporate government bonds. For our interesting reading, we refer you to the legal tender cases of Juilliard versus Greenman, 110 U.S. 421 from 1884. I'm going to put this in the chat for you guys. I want you to go look at this and get a clear understanding, right? Let's go.
Really lawful money, but debt obligations, or the equivalent of corporate government bonds. For more interesting reading, we refer you to the legal tender cases, Juilliard v. Greenman, 110 U.S. 421, 1884. Under the power to borrow money on the credit of the United States, and to issue circulating notes for the money borrowed, Congress's power to define the quality and force of those notes as currency is as broad as the like power over a metallic currency under the power to coin money and to regulate the value thereof. Under the two powers, taken together, Congress is authorized to establish a national currency, either in coin or in paper, and to make that currency lawful money for all purposes, as regards the national government or private individuals. Emphasis added. Here is what one federal court said when one American claimed his FRNs were not lawful money and that they were exempt from taxation by a state. It's all BS, of course. Congress has delegated the power to establish this national currency, which is lawful money, to the Federal Reserve System 12 U.S.C.
It is lawful money for the Federal Reserve System between corporations when it comes to banking and trading and being able to be obligated to a debt. Federal Reserve notes, FRN, are only for bank exchange for debt. They are debtors' notes. I want y'all to get this. Damn, where did shit go? Don't want to start. Let me see. Hold on.
Greenman, 110 U.S. Under the two powers, taken together, Congress is, emphasis added. It's all BS, of course. Congress has delegated the power to establish this national currency, which is lawful money, to the Federal Reserve System 12 U.S.C. 411.
No value.
Congress has made the Federal Reserve note the measure of value in our monetary system, 12 U.S.C. 412, 19.
Okay, hold on real quick. So on that note, right, if you know that Federal Reserve notes are for banking exchange of bills of currency for debt, and you know that legal currency is not an obligatory thing because you cannot pay a debt with a debt note. So how are you being required to make payment via Federal Reserve? Why, when you receive a bill, they tell you, hey, I want you to submit remittance for this bill. And then you send in debt note, debit or credit via your bank account that you work for earning what you would consider fiat, right? Don't you understand that it's the fiat is not even the legal currency? It's only exchanged through the bank. When you go to cash your note, when you take your check to cash it, once you endorse it, that signature gives the note the value. So now you give it to the bank, you've endorsed it, and you've created a promissory note, a bill of exchange that can now be traded off of that company, and you can now fund the company more and more and more. You're actually funding them. Did you know that? Are you guys understanding this? Put a 1 in the chat if you understanding this shit. Like, do I keep wasting my time? I'm gonna make this a real short video because it seems like y'all not getting this, and I don't want to be wasting my time or yours. Like, facts. I don't have time to waste or play with people. That's why I'm doing this group. Once I get this group together, this YouTube shit will be farewell. Like, literally, I'm not going to be having time to keep dedicating to people that want to keep playing around. They want to just sit around, wait for answers. They're not studying shit. I keep showing them. They don't want to look into anything. If y'all don't want to get yourself together, I can't keep devoting my time to it. Really. People want to complain about paying for my time when I'm trying to individually help them. You know, I don't got it. I don't got it either, shit. I really don't got it. I don't got it to give over my life to you, my time, my energy, and everything that I'm dedicating to try to help people for free. And y'all ain't even taking this shit in and studying it. Like, for real. I don't even know what to do no more. All I know is that I have to get myself and focus on myself a little bit more when I'm not getting the feedback that I need. I'm not getting what I need from y'all, that y'all getting it. If I was dedicating and doing all this for free, and then I know y'all really getting it, y'all applying it, y'all doing this shit, then I can say, okay, it's worth it. But right now, I'm not really feeling like it's worth it, y'all. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. This video definitely ain't gonna be that long because it's just like, it seems like I really be wasting my time with a lot of this information that people are not appreciating. I could be doing so much more with my life right now, even at this moment, shit like resting. I'm tired as hell. I'll be up studying. I had to reschedule the live now because I was in a group that went longer than I thought it was. So I had to reschedule the live because I couldn't get out. And I'm still in there. I had to wait till I finished. I still end up leaving early because I rescheduled it twice. Like, for real, y'all. This is like real life for me. I don't know if y'all think it's just YouTube, but the shit ain't. Like, for real, for real. Y'all better get this. What's going on is you are being used. You go and sign this promissory note for these people to endorse your bill of exchange that you have now signed over to them with the so-called work check that you got. Now, once you sign that bill of exchange over, they're sending it through the bank. Now they are endorsing it. You're thinking you're getting funded, but shit, you already have the funding. They are endorsing it so they can use it as a bill of exchange to currently feed their corporation that you are growing with your signature, with your debt notes that you help them to create off this fake ass currency. You're not supposed to be even operating with these people because what? You're not a bank. Corporate is only supposed to deal with corporate. They're not supposed to deal with you unless they're doing something their fiduciary responsibilities, right? Let's go, y'all. We finna hurry up and get through this because I'm gonna give y'all a little more time, but let's go.
68, and has defined Federal Reserve notes as legal tender for taxes. 31 USC 3, 1965. Taxpayers' attempt to devalue the Federal Reserve notes they received as income is, therefore, not lawful under the laws of the United States. Maithes v. Commissioner of Internal Revenue, 576 F.2 D70, 1978. Obviously, Mr. Maithes didn't explain his case properly. If he had stuck to the statutory definition of a dollar and demanded that a statute be produced describing which of the $2 they are talking about, the court would have been powerless, because there ain't no friggin' statute, as confirmed by correspondence from the Federal Reserve Board itself. Judges can't make up definitions that don't exist in order to enforce laws against persons or things not specified in law. They're practicing religion and establishing a religion in violation of the First Amendment to do so. What they are doing is religion because they are espousing a belief that makes them superior, and that belief cannot or is not substantiated by any admissible evidence. Furthermore,
I know it's heavy, bro, but you got to take this load
as
off.
an excuse for why
We
his earnings
strong. We
are
got
not
this.
subject to withholding and are not wages as legally defined. The following provision requires that earnings of an employee as legally defined are not wages if the employee is not engaged in a trade or business and the employee's remuneration was paid in any medium other than cash. United States Code Title 26 Internal Revenue Code Subtitle C Employment Taxes. Chapter 24 Collection of Income Tax at Source on Wages Section 3401. Definitions. A. Wages. For purposes of this chapter, the term wages means all remuneration, other than fees paid to a public official, for services performed by an employee for his employer, including the cash value of all remuneration, including benefits, paid in any medium other than cash, except that such term shall not include remuneration paid. The money scam 90 of 140.
Money scam.
4142. 11. For services not in the course of the employer's trade or business public office in the U.S. government, to the extent paid in any medium other than cash, or during the time that H.J.R-192 supposedly was law, Americans had no resort to the common law remedies which had been available whenever there had been a breach of a contract, obligation, which required a payment in a particular kind of coin or currency, or, maybe, commodity. The law pursuant to H.J.R-192 set aside or suspended the common law in regard to payments of contracts in money, or as it might be said in another way, H.J.R-192 was very much a banker's delight because it effectuated a suspension of redemption of all of the outstanding circulating notes as well as a newly created legal ability to negotiate checks and other money denominated.
Hold on, I'm about to rewind that. Listen, if you are a $50 tier member, I did make a couple of very, very, very important posts today on the banking, some actual documents that you could submit, so on and so forth. Please make sure you're checking your Patreon. I know sometimes people go in there to look at a post or two, but if you are on the $50 or higher tier, you actually will see today that there were some important things documented. 3 particular posts. Make sure you're going to check them out. All right, let's go.
Securities without having the law pursuant to H.J.R-192 set aside or suspended the common law in regard to payments of contracts in money, or as it might be said in another way, H.J.R-192 was very much a banker's delight because it effectuated a suspension of redemption of all of the outstanding circulating notes as well as a newly created legal ability to negotiate checks and other money-denominated securities without having to pay out lawful money, meaning gold or silver coins. Instead, the banks could discharge their fiduciary duty by offering, that is, tendering anything that was legal tender at that time. All of the above will be found in H.J.R-192, Section 1. As a point of emphasis
fiduciary.
Here, H.J.R. ability to negotiate checks and other money-denominated securities without having to pay out lawful money, meaning gold or silver coins. Instead, the banks could discharge their fiduciary duty by offering,
Their
that is,
what?
tendering anything that was legal tender at that time.
What is legal tender? What do I keep telling you? The bank would do what? Their fiduciary responsibility. What is legal tender? Your bills. When they're sending you something, a note, your house note, a note is a what? They tell you that a bill is like a note. The cash fiat currency is a note. Your note, when they send you a note, say pay your car note, pay your house note. That is a bill of exchange that your bank should be taking care of for you. You need to address your bank sufficiently and correctly so that they know, hey, it's your fiduciary responsibility to take care of this, and I need you to handle this correctly. I'm sending this note over with the proper endorsement. Make sure that you apply the proper credits to my account, right? I don't think y'all still not getting this shit, man. Let me just go on for a minute. Let's go. Damn, I knew I was going to go too long. This is why I wanted to do the banking book drop last month. I ended up changing it because I needed to. A couple of people were asking about the Indian information, so I definitely went into that.
11.
But what we're going to do, guys, we're going to get into
the law pursuant to
I'm definitely going to do this bank drop because y'all got to get all this information. Y'all really going to have to apply it and study. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. I keep going over stuff. I want y'all to get it. I have classes that I offer. You know, I know people think, hey, I don't want to be paying people for things, this, and that. Hey, you got to pay for this information. That's the only way you're going to take value to it. What I noticed is I've been doing this for 2 years now, and nobody's really doing anything. Nobody's really learning. They're not applying things because why? They're getting free information. You're listening to me, you're getting it, but you're not applying anything because you haven't taken the action. You haven't put any current into it. See, SistarSoul is the one giving all the current. I'm the one giving it out. Just like people take information, you know, they'll try to demise my information, then go and then try to build on it with their platform. Now they want to take what I'm talking about over here. All this weird shit that people be doing. I really can't play with people. Like literally, life is too serious right now. I don't care what people do. I don't care what they share, any of that stuff. The demising part is where I have an issue. So what I need people to do is start focusing on themselves, understand your value and the value of others. Because listen, I'm y'all getting off cheap. Do y'all know how many of the brothers that I work with that's charging 5 stacks, 3 stacks for everything I do right now? And they keep telling me, stop selling myself short. I keep having these conversations. And that's what's going to happen. Because when I focus with my real group, that's what's going to happen. Anybody outside of that, I'm really going to have to make people pay for my time. Like literally, I don't know how valuable people really place me, but y'all really need to see the work. That's all I like to say.
R-192 set aside or suspended the common law in regard to payments of contracts in money, or as it might be said in another way, H.J.R-192 was very much a banker's delight because it effectuated a suspension of redemption of all of the outstanding circulating notes as well as a newly created legal ability to negotiate checks and other money-denominated securities without having to pay out lawful money, meaning gold or silver coins.
That's right.
Instead, the banks could discharge their fiduciary duty by offering, that is, tendering anything that was legal tender at that time. The banks can do that, right? All of the above will be found in
the banks can do it. Listen again.
To negotiate checks.
Listen very closely, right? The ability to negotiate checks and other money-denominated securities without having to pay out lawful money, meaning gold or silver. Not having to use gold or silver, but to be able to pay it with money that is denominated securities. What are securities? I've went over this months and months and months. Somebody need to know what a security is. If you don't know, I don't know what to tell you. Somebody put an example in the chat if you got me. Instead, the banks could discharge their fiduciary duty by offering that is tendering anything that was lawful tender at the time. What is lawful tender? How many times have I told you guys about what the lawful tender is? Let's go.
And other money-denominated securities without having to pay out lawful money, meaning gold or silver coins. Instead, the banks could discharge their fiduciary duty by offering, that is, tendering anything that was legal tender at that time. All of the above will be found in H.J.R-192, Section 1. As a point of emphasis here, H.J.R-192 found at 48 STAT 112 to 113 did not by express terms repeal any of the pre-existing common law remedies. At the most, all it did was indirectly suspend any ability to use the common law remedies for a while.
Common law.
The while, as it turns out, lasted from 1933 to 1982, or almost 50 years. But upon the repeal of H.J.R-192, all of the older common law remedies became available for use again, and the banks
All
could not legally
available.
evade their fiduciary duty to pay in lawful money.
Since what? What have I been telling you guys? Right? I'm going to put this in the chat for you guys as well. This is more confirmation. Everything Sistar keeps telling y'all guys. And unless you apply this stuff to yourself, you're not going to be able to get the correct, proper remedy for using your securities. This is what's important, right? This is what's important. Okay? Let's go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I hate when they do that. Okay.
4142. But upon the repeal, that tells you that the bank is insolvent, aka bankrupt. But they do and have, but upon the, at the most, all it did was indirectly suspend any ability to use the common law remedies for a while. The while, as it turns out, lasted from 1933 to 1982, or almost 50 years. But upon the repeal of H.J.R-192, all of the older common law remedies became available for use again, and the banks could not legally evade their fiduciary duty to pay in lawful money.
They can't evade it.
But they do and have continued to avoid their duty, it seems, simply because no one has demanded that a bank should pay in dollars of lawful money and has stood firm in refusing to accept those Federal Reserve notes when tendered.
Because what?
You can refuse them now that H.J.R-192 has been repealed, and when you do, the bank is put into a very difficult spot. Lawfully, a bank must pay in lawful money dollars, and it is very likely that the bank simply does not have any, or maybe not enough to transact your check. That tells you that the bank is insolvent, aka bankrupt. There is today a parity relationship between FRNs and the lawful money silver dollars, which is about 10-1 and moving upward to 12-1. Under the 10:1 parity, a single or dollar Federal Reserve note is actually worth only 10 cents in silver coin lawful money. Go to a coin store and buy one silver dollar coin using FRNs. You'll learn about parity values. 11 evils of a corrupted monetary system. A paper money system allows those holding the reins of power of that system to essentially fleece the economy for their own benefit. Such a political monetary system impedes economic growth, increases private and government debt, aggregates political and economic power in the hands of an elitist few, among many other social detriments. In contrast, a specie monetary system allows the populace to hold wealth in their own hands, and a specie system cannot be manipulated as can a paper money system. Real economic growth at faster rates would occur with a specie monetary system. It is paper money and not specie money that causes problems and retards growth of the economy. Imagine what our economy would be like if, since the war between the states, we had a specie monetary system instead of a paper one. We would not have had the economic drag on the economy caused by a paper system. We would not have suffered from the whipsaw recessions and expansions created by a paper system. Real economic growth far greater than we have seen would have been achieved. We would have had fewer wars, steady economic growth, far smaller government, steady prices, if not declining prices, etc. The reason we have a paper money system is because it allows a few men to operate a giant Ponzi scheme at tremendous costs to the rest of us. Men like the Treasury Secretary can make tens and hundreds of millions of bucks a year. And then they can become Treasury Secretary and make decisions that help their friends. J.P. Morgan vs. Bear Stearns.
I know it's a few, y'all. I'm sorry.
11.1 fiat currency is the main origin of the authority to institute the modern income tax. Our financial system is structured in such a way that you can't handle or receive money without being treated as if you are a public officer of the national and not state government by default. This is corroborated by the following. 1. Whenever you try to apply for a job, employers insist on treating you as a federal government employee by either not hiring you or firing you if you refuse to submit a W-4
withholding form, withholding taxes from your currency. How dare they have you work for something, and then when the weekends or the 2 weeks end or the bye week ends, they tell you that, hey, we're withdrawing taxes. Taxes are illegal. They're withdrawing taxes out of your earnings, right? The things that you've earned, because when you work, you don't understand when you work, they call it your earnings. You're not just, oh, I'm earning a work check. No, your earnings are the interest that you paid into that company. I've gone over this with you guys many times before. Your earnings are the interest you pay into that country. So now your earnings and the interest you pay into the company, what do? They take it and have it withheld with the W-4 form. So they won't hire you if you don't fill it out, because they have to tell you, hey, submit to me stealing your money. You get it? They have to say, I need you to sign this form and say that I can fairly withhold income taxes from you, because they want you to pay their debt. And that's what you're doing, because you're investing in the company. This is why I told you guys what, you have securities in every company you worked at. They owe you money. You just have to know how to go back and how to retrieve it. Stop letting these people abuse you and having you pay their damn bills with your hard slave labor.
For withholding form. C. The money scam 91 of 140. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36 federal and state withholding options for private employers. Form hashtag 09.001 https://sedm.org/form/09-procs/fedstate-wh-options.pdf. Those attempting to open bank accounts are treated by default as statutory U.S. persons.
Did you
who
know
are
if you
also
open a bank account and with that particular bank account, the FDIC actually issues securities in the amount of $250,000. When you close that account, every closed account that you had, the FDIC has secured amount. It says, I am secured by the FDIC insurance company. You see that when you walk in the bank, it's on their door, because you are secured. You are what? You are the secured party creditor. You are what? You are the person that is the beneficiary to any actions the bank pursues, because why? They are a corporate entity. They are trading your securities, which is when you sign that bank note, that card for an application for services at this bank. They're to issue you a certain amount of funding. Y'all ain't interested in getting none of that. I ain't even pursued it. I ain't a money hungry person. I be pretty good. I kind of, I'm very, very humble when it comes to things. So with me helping people and people that can fund me back, with me assisting them, I kind of deal with that, and I deal with other security things. But when it comes to the main thing of it, I don't even focus on this. Like, there's like so many people I can get, but until I'm settled in the space I want to be in, and I start to secure and pull everything into my trust that's owed to me, I don't want to do that, because I don't want to be sitting on money like that. Like, I'm literally like a billionaire, like right now. I already know all I gotta do is submit my papers, and you are too. You literally are a billionaire, especially if you're over 21 years of age. You know how much your shit been traded on the stock market? You know how many securities you can go back and obtain, because now you have figured this system out and know you've been abused, and you can go back and claim those securities plus the interest on that shit. Man, these people playing with y'all, but I'm trying to set you free. Let's go.
Public officers, as we prove in the following. U.S. person position. Form hashtag 05.053
Hey, nephew.
https://sedm.org/form/05-
I know you doing it, bro. Come on.
person position.pdf. The income
I got
tax
the
itself
real
functions
hitters
as
with
an
me.
excise tax upon the functions of a public office. Those who pay it are therefore treated as if they are public officers of the national and not state government. C. The trade or business scam. Form hashtag 05.001 https://sedm.org/form/05-MEM/trade or bus scam.pdf. Every time one handles cash, the money laundering enforcement statutes presume that those doing so are enfranchised public officers of the national government.
I got you.
For exhaustive proof of this, see Money Laundering Enforcement Scam. Form hashtag 05.044 https://sedm.org/form/05-MEM law/money laundering scam.pdf. Whenever people receive a payment, payers are conditioned to file an information return against the recipient, thus creating.
Real quick. And people, a lot of people, I know a lot of people keep, oh, UCC, oh, you got to file a UCC. You want to be a secure creditor. You want to be, nigga, Negro, Negress. No, stop. Listen, you are really a secured creditor. You were born a secured creditor. When your mom filled out that birth certificate, when she filled out that social security card for you, that is a bond by the state that has an actual account number to the Federal Reserve. Listen, she set your ass up. She just didn't know how great she did of a job because they thought they were doing it for them. But see, now that you come into the knowledge, you know what to do, right? Because see, it's all in your mind, in your head. You have to know that you are the ruler, you are the king, you are the queen, you are the only true currency, the weights and measures that you are, gives all the value and weight to anything that you apply it to, any job, any so-called credit application for a loan, a store, a vehicle, a home. All that's you. That's your shit. You're just tapping and saying, signing and saying, hey, go get this. As soon as you say go get this, they're like, thank you. They have you sign the little information that says, hey, I'm now signing it over to them. Well, damn, you big ass dummy. You didn't even know this was your shit already. Like you didn't even know. I'm not calling you a dummy. I'm just saying this is how you feel when you come to the realization of I'm just giving my shit away. This is just like giving of yourself, giving, and giving.
Legal evidence that they are engaged in the functions of a public office per 26 U.S.C. 6041 and 26 U.S.C. 7701, A, 26. Thus, they are presumed to be public officers of the national and not state government. For details, see Correcting Erroneous Information Returns, Form hashtag 04.001 https://sedem.org/form/0-hyphen-tax/0-4TNS/Courier-RN4TNS.pdf. Welcome to the Matrix, Neo. And if you want to escape this matrix, they do give you an option, but it is an uphill battle against just about everyone to resist it. That option is to choose to be a non-resident alien as described below, non-resident non-person position, form hashtag 05.020 https://sedem.org/form/05-mem/law/non-resident non-person position.pdf. As far as currency itself, not money, but currency, we have also clearly established throughout this document that Federal Reserve notes, FRNZE, are not money as constitutionally defined, are called legal tender and currency in congressional enactments, are mere promissory notes. The lender, in this case, is the Federal Reserve and not you as the person carrying the note physically. Represent in effect an ownership interest in the debts of the United States national government. Everyone who uses them in effect is...
I just dropped y'all some flame in the chat. Everybody in here should be grabbing this. Everybody should be grabbing this right now. Nobody in here should be not grabbing this form, like literally. Nobody in here should be not grabbing this form. This form gives you almost 900 pages of information, y'all. I'm giving y'all some jewels. A lot of this stuff you're only going to get in my class, I'm telling you right now. But I'm dropping y'all a few of these jewels right quick, so I want y'all to grab them. Grab them. Grab them. I'm going to drop it in the chat again in case anyone's having a problem clicking on the link. I'm going to click the link one more time. Here's the link itself for the form. Make sure you go get it. There you go, right there. Non-resident form. It gives you the form, goes over all the information. You can pull the form up, download the form. This gives you the whole entitlement. Y'all want to see? Let me show y'all real quick, just so y'all can see. Hold on, let me pull it up for y'all real quick. This PDF I just dropped you for non-resident, non-person position. This is non-resident, non-person position. For 879 pages. Yes, almost 900 pages. This is the one. Gives you all the information, everything that you can use. It gives you all the codes. You got mad links where you can go get even more information. It gives you the dedication, list of the tables, a list of the figures, explaining and defining everything, position, exempt status, non-resident, non-described. Listen, y'all better grab it right now. Grab it right now, okay? Because you're going to want that. Okay? Let's go.
An investor in Uncle Sam, and it's a privilege to do so. From a criminal perspective, are identified as obligations of the United States, meaning effectively bonds. C18 U.S.C. 8.
Bonds.
The yield on these bonds is effectively paid through government benefits as described in The government benefits scam. Form #05.040 https://sedem.org/product/the-government-benefits-scam-form-05-040. The Federal Reserve is a private, for-profit consortium of private banks managed by a Federal Reserve Board, FRB, whose members are nominated by the President. Since the Federal Reserve is the lender, then they are the ones technically holding these notes. The rest of us merely trade these in effect as negotiable instruments. Negotiable instruments. Any written securities which may be transferred by endorsement _and delivery or by delivery merely, so as to vest in the endorse the legal title, and thus enable him to sue thereon in his _own name. Or, more technically, those instruments which not only carry the legal title, negotiable instruments. Any written securities which may be transferred by endorsement _and delivery or by delivery merely, so as to vest in the endorse the legal title, and thus enable him to sue thereon in his _own name. Or, more technically, those instruments which not only carry the legal title with them by endorsement or delivery, but
legal
carry
title,
as well, when transferred before maturity, the right of the transferee to demand the full amounts which their faces call for.
You're welcome, Aton.
Daniel, neg.inst. 1a. A negotiable instrument is a written promise or request for the payment of a certain sum of money to order or bearer. Civ.code.cal 8080.
Man, you better write off any of them endorsements when they talk about some, oh, it's an application fee, this, and that. Use that stamp value on it. Use an endorsement, a proper endorsement on it. It's still legal tender. Y'all gotta get to this. Let's go.
7. A general name for bills. First NAT Bank v. Rockamora, 193 NC1, 136 SE 259, 261. Notes, checks, Kansas City Casualty Co. v. Westport Abe Bank, 181 MOAP, 287, 177 S. International NAT Bank, 73 Mod 2. Under the Uniform Negotiable Instruments Act, an instrument, to be negotiable, must be in writing and signed, must contain an unconditional promise or order to pay a certain sum of money on demand.
What is it?
Or at a fixed and determinable future time. It must be payable to order or to bearer, and where it is addressed to the drawee, he must be named or otherwise indicated with reasonable certainty.
Of course,
its
my
negotiability
love.
is not affected by the fact that it is not dated, or that it bears a seal, or that it does not specify the value given or that any value was given. Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition.
I told y'all, download it.
1187 to 1188. Negotiable instruments are property in a legal sense.
They're what?
Delivery of a negotiable instrument is how ownership is transferred.
Oh, really?
Each note of
That's
currency
the value,
represents a promise to pay by the borrower, and that promise is fulfilled when the note is redeemed for lawful money by any Federal Reserve Bank as required by law under 12 U.S.C.
Well, how is that redeemed by the federal bank? How is that happening, guys? Anybody in the chat know? How is that happening? Because what you're redeeming it by what? Endorsing it properly endorsing the note. When you properly endorse the note, when you properly endorse the bill of exchange, you get them all the time. You know how many bills of exchange you guys got? You know how many notes that you guys have that you'd be able to endorse and properly receive the proper credits for? They send you a bill in your mail. People be like, oh, I'm scared to get a bill. Shit, you better grab that bill. That's money. That's that real money right there, right? Because the bill is what? The negotiable instrument. With the proper endorsement, you turn it over to your bank. Your bank uses it as a bill of exchange to pay the debt, because all debts belong to who? The Federal Reserve, which is part of what the government system. That ain't you. Man, I don't know how much clearer I can make y'all get this shit, but let's go.
However, Presidential Proclamation 4074 prevents Federal Reserve notes from being redeemed in lawful currency, silver coin, as required by 12 U.S.C. 411. This proclamation was issued under the authority of 12 U.S.C. 95b, which unconstitutionally delegates lawmaking powers to the President. Federal Reserve banks, under the authority of presidential fiat in Presidential Proclamation 4074, which is justified under emergency powers found in 12 U.S.C. 95b, have in effect refused their legal duty to redeem Federal Reserve notes in lawful money as gold and silver.
Study running up the
they
debt.
are in direct violation of the law and are directly interfering with Uncle Sam paying off the debt represented by these negotiable instruments. This is a direct violation of the original United States Money Act of 1789, which is still in effect, and which makes it a crime to debase the currency. And be it further enacted, that if any of the gold or silver coins which shall be struck or coined at the said mint shall be debased or made worse as to the proportion of the fine gold or fine silver therein contained, or shall be of less weight or value than the same amount to be pursuant to the directions of this act, through the default or with the connivance of any of the officers or persons who shall be employed at the said mint, for the purpose of profit or gain, or otherwise with a fraudulent intent, and if any of the said officers or persons shall embezzle any of the metals which shall at any time be committed to their charge for the purpose of being coined, or any of the coins which shall be struck or coined at the said mint, every such officer or person who shall commit any or either of the said offenses, shall be deemed guilty of felony, and shall suffer death. United States of America Money Act, 1792, Section 19.
Well, damn, isn't that the Federal Reserve? Isn't that anyone that's working in the Federal Reserve? Isn't that what their positions is? Isn't that some type of treasonous act that's being performed that they say they would be put to death for? But they're consistently creating it. So how could that be happening? How could the federal government go against the constitutional laws of the United States and not be held liable?
To mint or issue gold and silver coins is the legal equivalent of embezzling all coins. The mint is, in effect, conspiring with the Federal Reserve and Congress to debase the currency by doing this. Congress doesn't legislatively authorize the mint to issue the coins. The mint then doesn't issue the coins, and finally the Federal Reserve can't redeem the FRNs for lawful money. So we have in effect a conspiracy between these three parties to debase the coin,
what I just
which
said
is punishable by death.
Y'all see it?
And
we
end up with a finger-pointing
it's illegal
contest.
Treason.
The mint can say that Congress didn't authorize them to mint. The Federal Reserve banks can say there is no legal tender to redeem even if they wanted to. But what about Congress? Individual congressmen can say it's not my fault that no bill has ever been presented on the floor to reestablish redeemability of FRNs in gold and silver specie. This is like Abbott and Costello's Who's on First, baseball parody.
Oh yeah, all the OIDs.
Federal Reserve notes, however, also represent a property interest in a debt
and an ownership interest. Let me make sure you understand this, brother, right? When it comes to it, let me get back to your question because you just made me think of something to say. Of how much of the credit is being issued through the OID, original issue discount. Everything, Bass. Everything, brother. You know why? Because every time you do what? You sign a debt note. Every time you sign, you're adding to it because now you guys are fulfilling the OID. When you go and they say, hey, let me run your credit, when you apply for a car and all these things, and you're not letting them know that you are applying your credits through your trust and let your account fund it and so on and so forth. Since you're not handling that the proper way, what's going on is that OID is now created. They create the OID. They take the financing. You see that when they say, hey, go sign these finance charges. You want to take on the finances because this credit, you got to pay a little finances. Sign this additional instrument. You've already created the instrument to pay for the vehicle. It's already paid off. It's nothing to be said, left, done, shit about it. It's a wrap. It's already yours. Now they have you sign a financial agreement, just like how the places do that you're working for. They have you sign the W-4. What the company does, have you sign a financing statement. Once you sign that financing statement, now they attach that to the application, which is actually the original credit line, which is actually the bond, which is actually the exchange of securities. They apply it to the financing charge. They run and take it to the bank. Now the bank can use it because because of what you've given them, which is the actual credit, they apply the finance to it. Now they can trade it as a negotiable instrument on the stock market. Therefore, just abusing you. You feel me? You got it, bro? That makes sense to you? Let's go.
In Uncle Sam itself. Technically, FRNs are not public property, but private property. This is because the Federal
You said
Reserve is
pubic
private.
property, Lord.
Although the FRB has a star.gov domain name, each of the regional Federal Reserve banks have a star.org domain name, indicating that they are private and not public.
Uh-huh.
The national government is
Private.
a corporation
All banks
per
are private.
USC 3002,
Corpse.
15A, and all governments are corporations per the U.S. Supreme
Oh.
Court. Corporations are also of all grades, and made for varied objects. All governments are corporations, created by usage and common consent, or grants, and charters which create a body politic for prescribed purposes, but whether they are private, local, or general, in their objects, for the enjoyment of property, or the exercise of power, they are all governed by the same rules of law, as to the construction and the obligation of the instrument by which the incorporation is made. One universal rule of law protects persons and property. It is a fundamental principle of the common law of England, that the term freeman of the kingdom includes all persons, ecclesiastical and temporal, incorporate, politique or natural.
I know
it is
that
a part
it
of
wasn't
their
a
Magna
question.
Carta,
Okay.
2
Well, you
INST,
put it in the chat like it was a question.
4,
Why'd you
and
put
is
it in there?
incorporated into our institutions. The persons of the members of corporations are on the same footing of protection
If
as
you knew
other
it, you didn't
persons,
have to confirm it,
and their
right?
corporate property secured by the same laws which protect that
Y'all
of
be so funny
individuals.
sometimes.
2 INST 46-7.
I'm trying to help you. Shit, you
No
over
man
here.
shall be taken,
I don't
no
need
man
no help
shall
from
be
you.
diseased, without due
Okay,
process
let's see.
of law, is of the money scam 93 of 140. Principle taken from Magna Carta,
Listen,
infused into
principle
all our
taken from
state
where?
constitutions, and is made inviolable by the federal government, by the amendments to the Constitution. Proprietors of Charles River Bridge v. Proprietors of Warren Bridge, 36 U.S. 420, 1837, without redeemability of FRNs in gold and silver lawful money, Federal Reserve notes function in effect as corporate bonds. These bonds are legislatively authorized to be issued by Congress. Anything that Congress creates legislatively is a privilege. The article below proves that the creator of a thing is always the owner. Hierarchy of sovereignty. The power to create is the power to tax.
I'm giving
Family
this out.
Guardian Fellowship HTTPS.
I'll be putting. I'm actually going to put this PowerPoint for remedies on Patreon. The second tier. You guys will have this. If I don't do it today, I'll do it sometime tomorrow. But yeah, I'm going to definitely put that on there. Let's go.
/famguardian.org/subjects/taxes/remedies/power to create.htm. The Constitution created
Audrey, I'm
or
glad
granted
somebody
lawful
needed
money
this,
as gold
you
or
know.
silver. Congress created
And I'm
fiat
glad I
currency to
can help you
replace and
guys,
debase
babe.
lawful money.
That's why I'm doing it.
So Congress is the owner of fiat currency and the people, called the state, are the owners of lawful money, but it isn't available so they can truly own nothing. Those holding FRNs as corporate bonds therefore function as corporate bondholders of a federal corporation. The use of these bonds for commerce is a privilege, not a right, because they don't represent anything of intrinsic redeemable value like gold or silver. If Congress hadn't issued them, people wouldn't have a way to trade at all. So the ability to trade in these corporate securities is a privilege legislatively granted by Congress.
They're the creditors.
All such privileges may be regulated and taxed as in effect public property.
No, you're the beneficiary and the creditor. They're the one that help to move your credit.
And the sages of the law in his day spoke of property as affected by a public interest, and ceasing from that cause to be juris privati solely, that is, ceasing to be held merely in private right, they referred to one property dedicated donated by the owner to public uses, or two to property the use of which was granted by the government, e.g. Social Security card, or three in connection with which special privileges were conferred licenses, such as the SSN or TIN. Unless the property was thus dedicated by one of the above three mechanisms, or some right bestowed by the government was held with the property, either by specific grant or by prescription of so long a time as to imply a grant originally, the property was not affected by any public interest so as to be taken. Because your Social Security card is what? A credit card. Did you know that was a credit card? Did you know your Social Security card was a literal credit card? This is why I tell you, when you give them your information, your credit card information, your date of birth and your signature, your autograph,
to endorse the bond that you're creating for them to use. Y'all getting it?
Out of the category of property held in private right. The compensation which the owners of prop not having any special rights or privileges from the government in connection with it, may demand for its use, or for their own
This what I
services
don't
in
like when
union
somebody
with it.
try to tell me what I said. Maybe you misunderstood. You said, I said you receive a bill in the mail. It's not a bill. It's just a statement or a credit being used through the OID. And you're wrong. And since you came to reiterate your incorrect information, brother, you're not wrong in what you're saying, but you're wrong in what you thought I meant. Maybe because you didn't comprehend. So I'll clarify it for you. What I said is you receive a bill in the mail. It is a bill. Maybe you don't know it's a bill. That's probably why you're over here in my chat listening. Maybe you need to go to your page and go teach somebody what you know over there. Don't come over here trying to correct me on shit when I'm putting it right in your face. That's what I don't do is distractions. I don't play in my chat. I haven't seen you around me in my chat for, till recently. So please don't come here and distract me, throw my chat off or none of that. I'm teaching them exactly what they see in their face and they're learning it. So for you to come and say, I'm saying something wrong, get your ass on. That's something I don't do because I don't play with people. I don't have time for that shit. I said we receive a bill in the mail. Correct. It is a bill. It is a bill of exchange. What did you just hear me read? Maybe you weren't paying attention or maybe your comprehension is off. Okay. But when you receive a bill, it is a bill of exchange that you exchange for the credit and the securities with proper endorsement. That's what I said. Maybe you missed some of the important part. If you can't follow along, stay out my chat. Do not put shit else in my chat. Baz King. Like, really. Don't put nothing in my chat. I'm telling you right now, because I don't even appreciate that. You ain't correcting me on shit. And when you ask the question, I confirmed the question. Oh, I already know that this. I don't need smart ass over here trying to teach me shit because I learn on my own. I'm trying to help other people. If you got something that you can enhance me with, hit me in the back. We can discuss it. I can get a clear understanding. Then we can go over it. But I don't play with distracting my chat with shit. That's why I read. I go through thorough information, documents. Okay, so people can see it for themselves. So if you want to play in somebody's chat, go somewhere else. That's what I don't do. I'm letting you know now. This is your last warning. Okay? Thank you. Let's go.
Forms no element of consideration in prescribing regulations for that purpose. It is only where some right or privilege which are government property is conferred by the government or municipality upon the owner, which he can use in connection with his property, or by means of which the use of his property is rendered more valuable to him, or he thereby enjoys an advantage over others, that the compensation to be received by him becomes a legitimate matter of regulation. Submission to the regulation of compensation in such cases is an implied condition of the grant, and the state, in exercising its power of prescribing the compensation, only determines the conditions upon which its concession shall be enjoyed. When the privilege ends, the power of regulation ceases. Munway, Illinois, 94 U.S. 113, 1876. This, in fact, is the origin of the authority of the modern income tax based more on how it behaves than the way the courts describe it, which always involves deliberate vagueness, equivocation, and most often silence alone. Discussing such subjects is taboo and a third-rail issue to the courts, so they just don't and can't talk about it on the public record clearly or accurately. An entire book has been written about the subject of fiat currency as a source of usurpation as follows: they own it all.
We about to get on their ass with this consumer bucks. Y'all don't even know. Y'all finna miss out.
Robert Rowan,
For real.
2009, https://www.amazon.com/they-own-all-dp/14392333616 The Money Scam 94 of 100. You can read our critique of the above book at Critique of the Book They Own It All, Including You, by Ronald McDonald and Robert Rowan. SEDM https://sedm.org/critique-of-
This is also one of the books, the PDFs I'll be putting
including -you
on
by Ronald
Patreon.
McDonald.
There'll be 4 links
Under
total.
Constitution Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2, Congress has the authority to make all needful rules respecting the territory and other property of the United States.
Get to this next document in a minute.
United States Constitution Article 4, Section 3. The Congress shall have power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory or other property belonging to the United States, and underscore nothing in this Constitution shall be so construed as to prejudice any claims of the United States, or of any particular state. Anything Congress creates remains their property from a legal perspective, no matter who they transfer it to. Thus, the debt represented by FRNs isn't really a debt at all,
It's not a
but
debt.
a liability against
It's a
all those who
liability.
hold said debt.
You get
The
it?
value or benefit these FRNs add is not in their redeemability, but in the fact that they simplify commerce and make it more convenient. That convenience is a benefit and therefore a privilege Congress can regulate and tax.
And tax.
Congress, after all, has the authority to regulate commerce between the states but not within the states under Constitution Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. U.S. Constitution Article 1, Legislative Department Section 8, Powers of Congress Clause 3. Power to regulate commerce. The Congress shall have power to regulate commerce with foreign nations, and among the several states, and with the Indian tribes. If members of Congress could speak honestly and candidly about the abuse of privileged corporate bonds called FRNs to bestow the excise taxable benefit and privilege of the use of fiat FRNs as a medium of commerce, they would probably say that using these as the origin of the power to regulate everyone within a constitutional state is a violation of the above constitutional
violation of the
because it is being abused to
Constitution.
unconstitutionally regulate intrastate commerce, meaning commerce within a constitutional state. Regulate anything and everything they want to within a constitutional state, because they can attach any obligation that they want to receipt of the privilege of using Federal Reserve notes. Below is how we describe this on the opening page of our site. Any people of all races, genders, political beliefs, sexual orientations, and nearly all religions are welcome here. All are treated equally under real law. The only way to remain truly free and equal under the civil law is to avoid seeking government civil services, benefits, property, special or civil status, exemptions, privileges, or special treatment. All such pursuits of government services or property require individual and lawful consent to a franchise and the surrender of inalienable constitutional rights and equality in the process, and should therefore be avoided.
Equity.
The rights and equality given up are the cost of procuring the benefit or property from the government. In fact, nothing in life is truly free. Anyone who claims that such benefits or property should be free and cost them nothing is a thief who wants to use the government as a means to steal on his or her behalf. All just rights spring from responsibilities/obligations under the laws of a higher power. If that higher power is God, you can be truly and objectively free. If it is government, you are guaranteed to be a slave because they can lawfully set the cost of their property as high as they want as a merchant under the UCC. If you want it really bad from people with a monopoly, then you will get it really bad.
Listen again.
If it is government, all just rights spring from responsibilities/obligations under the laws of a higher power. If that higher power is God, you can be truly and objectively free. If it is government, you are guaranteed to be a slave because they can lawfully set the cost of their property as high as they want as a merchant under the UCC.
As a merchant under the UCC. You hear a lot of people talking about the UCC. They want you to go under UCC. You're putting yourself under commerce with the government with the UCC. If you want to do business and operate with commerce, that's fine. Nothing against that. That's your choice. That's your business. But yeah, keep that in mind.
You will get it really bad. Bend over. There are no constitutional limits on the price government can charge for their monopoly services or property. Those who want no responsibilities can have no real/private rights, but only privileges dispensed to wards of the state which are disguised to look like unalienable rights. Obligations and rights are two sides of the same coin, just like self-ownership and personal responsibility.
I'm going to show y'all this one.
For the biblical version of this paragraph, read 1 Sam 8:10-22 for the reason God answered Samuel by telling him to allow the people to have a king. Read Deuteronomy 28:43-51, which is God's curse upon those who allow a _king above them. Click here.
curse, huh?
https://famguardian.org/subjects/taxes/evidence/how-seeker-up-tower-repub-government.htm for a detailed description of the legal, moral, and spiritual consequences of violating this paragraph. SEDM website opening page, http://sedm.org The Money Scam 95 of 140. 3. Engage in monopolistic practices in violation of the Sherman
Many
209.
times.
15
Antitrust
USC
Act.
1-7. They have a monopoly on printing fiat currency, and they vociferously go after anyone and everyone who threatens that monopoly, and especially those engaged in cryptocurrency. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Sherman_antitrust_act 4. Unconstitutionally invade the states of the Union in violation of Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. This is a commercial invasion rather than a physical invasion. 233238 Article 4, States Relations Section 4. Obligations of United States to states. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion, and on application of the legislature, or of the executive, when the legislature cannot be convened, against domestic violence. Waive the protections of the common
It's
law
for
for their
them.
private property. The words privileges and immunities, like the greater part of the legal
Privileges.
phraseology of this country, have been carried over from the law of Great Britain, and recur constantly either as such or in equivalent expressions from the time of Magna Carta. For all practical purposes they are synonymous in meaning, and originally signified a peculiar right or private law conceded to particular persons or places whereby a certain individual or class of individuals was exempted from the rigor of the common law. Privilege or immunity is conferred upon any person when he is invested with a legal claim to the exercise of special or peculiar rights, authorizing him to enjoy some particular advantage or exemption. 1. The privileges and immunities of state citizenship. Roger Howell, Ph.D., 1918, pp. 9-10, source, http://famguardian.org/publication/theparivandimmof state cit/the_privileges_and_immunities_of state_c.pdf/footnotes. 1C McGill v. Brown, Federal Cop. Number 8952, 16 Federal Cop. 408, 6 words and phrases, 5583, 5584, A.J. Lean, Privileges and Immunities of Citizens of the United States, in Columbia University Studies in History, Economics, and Public Law, Volume 54,
Public
p.
law.
31. The court developed, for its own governance in the cases confessedly within its jurisdiction, a series of rules under which it has avoided passing upon a large part of all the constitutional questions pressed upon it for decision. They are: 6. The court will not pass upon the constitutionality of a statute at the instance of one who has availed himself of its benefits. FN 7 Great Falls Manufacturing Co. v. Attorney General, 124 U.S. 581, 8 S.CT 631, 31 L.ed. 527, Wall v. Parrott Silver and Copper Co., 244 U.S. 407, 411, 412, 37 S.CT 609, 61 L.ed. 1229, St. Louis Malleable Casting Co. v. Prendergast Construction Co., 260 U.S. 469, 43 S.CT 178, 67 L.ed. 351 Ashwonder v. Tennessee Valley Authority, 297 U.S. 288, 56 S.CT 466, 1936, footnotes, FN 7 Compare Electric Co. v. Dow, 166 U.S. 489, 17 S.CT 645, 41 L.ed. 1088, Pierce v. Somerset Re., 171 U.S. 641, 648, 19 S.CT 64, 43 L.ed. 316, Leonard v. Vicksburg, etc., Arco, 198 U.S. 416, 422, 25 S.CT 750, 49 L.ed. 1108-6. Destroy every constitutional right. Those who claim a statutorily granted privilege waive the protections of the Constitution under the Brandeis Rules, do what the literal author of the Constitution warned us they would do to circumvent or escape the restrictions of the Constitution. The Constitution was drafted from the personal notes of the following author at the Constitutional Convention. General welfare as described below includes the idea of providing benefits or privileges of any kind to people within the constitutional states, mainly through franchises. This includes fiat currency, Social Security, Medicare, etc.
Mm-hmm.
The money scam
You get
96.
it? Money scam, all that shit part of the money scam because they use that to do it. They use the Social Security Department to create the trust funding so they can stifle and steal the money through the bonding, right? Y'all got that. We don't got to even go over that no more, right? Let's go. We're going to get you guys familiar with what was going on with Hamilton's opinion on the constitutionality of the banking system from 1791, February 23rd. Let's go. Let's go way back.
Federal government depended for its the general December the 23d, 1790. Agreed to by the Senate. 93 Hamilton's opinion on the constitutionality of the bank February 23, 1791. The works of Alexander Hamilton, ed. By J.C. Hamilton, Volume 4, p. 104 ff. December 14, 1790, Hamilton presented to Congress his plan for the establishment of a national bank. A bill embodying most of the features of Hamilton's plan passed Congress February 8, 1791. Washington, doubtful of the constitutionality of the measure, requested Hamilton, Jefferson, and Randolph to submit written opinions on this question. For Jefferson's opinion, see document number 94. Randolph submitted 2 opinions, one adverse, one ambiguous. Hamilton's opinion is one of the ablest of his papers. It contained the substance of the argument subsequently adopted by Marshall in his decision in the case of McCulloch v. Maryland. Washington accepted Hamilton's argument and signed the bill, February 25. On the first bank, C. M. St. C. Clark and D. A. Hall, Legislative and Documentary History of the Bank O.J. The United States, W. G. Sumner, History of Banking in the United States, Volume I. Right. In entering upon the argument, it ought to be premised that the objections of the Secretary of State and the Attorney General are founded on a general denial of the authority of the United States to erect corporations. The latter, indeed, expressly admits that if there be anything in the bill which is not warranted by the Constitution, it is the clause of incorporation. Now it appears to the Secretary of the Treasury that this general principle is inherent in the very definition of government, and essential to every step of the progress to be made by that of the United States, namely, that every power vested in a government is in its nature sovereign, and includes, by force of the term, a right to employ all the means requisite and fairly applicable to the attainment of the ends of such power, and which are not precluded by restrictions and exceptions specified in the Constitution, or riot immoral, or not contrary to the essential ends of political society. If it would be necessary to bring proof to a proposition so clear, as that which affirms that the powers of the federal government, as to its objects, were sovereign, there is a clause of the Constitution which would be decisive. It is that which declares that the Constitution, and the laws of the United States made in pursuance of it, shall be the supreme law of the land.
Listen to this.
The power which can create a supreme law of the land, in any case, is doubtless sovereign as to such case. This general and indisputable principle puts at once an end to the abstract question, whether the United States have power to erect a corporation, that is to say, to give a legal or artificial capacity to one or more persons,
Of course they
distinct
don't.
from the natural. For it is unquestionably incident to sovereign power to erect corporations, and consequently to that of the United States, in relation to the objects intrusted to the management of the government. The difference is this:
fiduciary
where the authority
responsibility,
of the
management
government
to the government for fiduciary responsibilities that they hold
is general, it can create corporations in all cases, where it. Hamilton's opinion on the bank is confined to certain branches of legislation. It can create corporations only in those cases. It is not denied that there are implied as well
That's
as
right.
express powers, and that the former are as effectually delegated as the latter. And for the sake of accuracy it shall be mentioned, that there is another class of powers, which may be properly denominated resulting powers. It will not be doubted, that if the United States should make a conquest of any of the territories of its neighbors, they would possess sovereign jurisdiction over the or territory. This would be rather a result, from the whole mass of the powers of the government,
territory,
and from the nature of political society, than a consequence of either of the powers specially enumerated. It is conceded that implied powers are to be considered as delegated equally with express ones.
Not actual powers.
Then it follows, that as a power of erecting a corporation may as well be implied as any other thing, it may as well be employed as an instrument or mean of carrying into execution any of the specified powers, as any other instrument or mean whatever.
Any other instrument.
The only question must be, in this, as in every other case, whether the mean to be employed, or in this instance, the corporation to be erected, has a natural relation to any of the acknowledged objects or lawful ends of the government. Thus a corporation may not be erected by Congress for superintending the police of the city of Philadelphia.
But they do it, right? Not only then, right? They did it from the late 1700s, and they continue to do it to this day. They tell you that law officers are governmental. In fact, they'll tell you that they have the ruling over you, but it tells you here, thus, a corporation, and we know that the United States is what? A corporation. The United States may not be erected by Congress for superintending the police of the city of Philadelphia or any other city. But they do it, don't they? Because they are not authorized to regulate the police of that city. Do you guys understand that? Because they're what? A private corporation. I don't know if y'all get it. Let me show y'all this one more time too. Hold on. Maybe it's some things y'all forgot. Let me pull this PDF up real quick so I can remind you guys. Let me remind you guys. Okay, just in case anyone's forgotten, or if maybe you haven't had a chance to see it because I've only showed it a few times. But see, this is the United States Corporation. This isn't even the last time it was purchased. This is just one of the documents, right? The United States Corporation. It's a company. It says right here, United States Corporation Company. Do you guys see that? Let me make sure it's large enough for you to see. The United States Corporation Company, right? We have the United States Corporation Company, filed in the office of the Secretary of State in the state of Florida on the 15th day of July of 1922. This was right before the Federal Reserve Act, right? What we're talking about and going into, Secretary of State, right? Here's their certificate. What I tell you guys about certificate of incorporation and article of incorporation. The certificate of incorporation of the United States Corporation Company, the United States Corporation Company, the corporate company. The name of the corporation is the United States Corporation Company. Do y'all get it? The nature of the business and the object and the purpose proposed to be transacted, promoted, or carried on by the corporation are as follow. What are they as follow? Listen to what they want to do. This is what their plan is. We just spoke. They just explained this to you guys in the book, but listen again. To prepare or cause to prepare and procure to be filed, recorded, registered, published, issued, or granted in accordance with law. Articles of certificates of incorporation. The applications for the letters, patent, the characters, and the charters, and other instruments relating to the incorporation and organization of the operation and joint stock the joint stock companies. Joint stock companies. What are joint stock companies? Do you guys know what a joint stock company is? Are those all the things that are under the federal organization, like the Federal Reserve, the income tax, the IRS, all these different places, the Treasury? You know, these are all joint stock companies that are all using your stock to trade, right? So that's why they're joint stock companies, right? Let's show you guys. They are to prepare or cause to be prepared and procure to be filed, as it said, okay? That's very important. Applications for licenses to do business or other instruments in relation to domestic and foreign corporations, companies, and associations. Oh, is that why the United States Corporation invented the UN, the United Nations, so that they can have ambassadorship with all these different countries and be trading and, you know, using our securities to trade with these companies and build these companies up by having securities in those companies and having some type of friendship built. To provide and maintain domiciliary and other offices. That's all these different government agents, right? And facilities for corporations, all those companies that are not supposed to be legally operating under the government as a corporation. A corporation is not a government, but they're labeling themselves so. Companies and associations and act of the agent in charge thereof, and upon other process again of the official notices to any of the other corporations, company, or the association may be served or given, and for any other lawful purpose. To the act of the physical or transfer agent, or the act of the physical or the transfer agent, the act of the physical or transfer agent of, or register of the stock or securities, the act of the transfer agent or register of the stock or security. What is the stock or the security? Well, that's your birth certificate, right? Isn't that your birth certificate and your social security card? Those both bonds that are issued through the state, and now they're enacting with these people because now they are a corporate soul. Each state government, the United States of is a corporation. The United States of is a corporation. So each state, it is now acting in the registrar, because why? Your birth certificate is registered. It is in the registrar, an agent of the or registrar of the stock or security, the stock or your birth certificate, right? That is issued by any public or private corporation in such capacity. Just letting you know what they, doing to you. I don't know if people really get it, but yeah, let's move on. Maybe I need to let you guys even see this. This was more recent this year. Let me go to this document real quick, just so you guys can get a very clear understanding of you being classified as any other state. No, I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to even read that. That's going to go way off. I will show you guys I might show this. Let me see. Let me pull this up. Hold on a second. Hey, that's too much reading. I don't feel like doing it. Okay, yeah, we're going to skip all that right now. But you get the gist. Y'all got it. You got it. You got it. Okay, you got it. I'm going to read a little bit more, get to this next book before we get out of here. Because I do have a build this evening with Hayru, 8 o'clock. You guys are not going to want to miss that. Make sure you're tuning in at 8. But yeah, let's get to the finish of this so I can finish with another document.
Because they are not authorized to regulate the police of that city. But one may be erected in relation to the collection of taxes, or to the trade with foreign countries, or to the trade between the states, or with the Indian tribes, because it is the province of the federal government to regulate those objects, and because it is incident to a general sovereign or legislative
credit union
power to regulate a thing, to employ all the means which relate to its regulation to the best and greatest advantage. Through this mode of reasoning respecting the right of employing all the means requisite to the execution of the specified powers of the government,
you already know.
It is objected that none but necessary and proper means are to be employed, and the Secretary of State maintains that no means are to be considered as necessary but those without which the grant of the power would be nugatory. It is essential to the being of the national government that so erroneous a conception of the meaning of the word necessary should be exploded. It is certain that neither the grammatical nor popular sense of the term requires that construction. According to both, necessary often means no more than needful, requisite, incidental, use fit, or conducive to. And it is the true one in which it is to be understood as used in the Constitution. The whole turn of the clause containing it indicates that it was the intent of the Convention, by that clause, to give a liberal latitude to the exercise of the specified powers. The expressions have peculiar comprehensiveness. They are to make all laws necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers, and all other powers, vested by the Constitution in the government of the United States, or in any department or officer thereof. To understand the word as the Secretary of State does, would be to depart from its obvious and popular sense, and to give it a restrictive operation, an idea never before entertained. It would be to give it the same force as if the word absolutely or indispensably had been prefixed to it. The degree in which a measure is necessary can never be a test of the legal right to adopt it. That must be a matter of opinion, and can only be a test of expediency. The relation between the measure and the end, between the nature of the mean employed towards the execution of a power, and the object of that power, must be the criterion of constitutionality, not the more or less of necessity or utility. This restrictive interpretation of the word necessary is also contrary to the sound maxim of construction, namely, that the powers contained in a constitution of government, especially those which concern the general administration of the affairs of a country, its finances, trade, defense and sea, ought to be construed liberally in advancement of the public good. The means by which national exigencies are to be provided for, national inconveniences obviated, national prosperity promoted, are of such infinite variety, extent, and complexity, that there must of necessity be great latitude of discretion in the selection and application of those means. Hence, consequently, the necessity and propriety of exercising the authorities entrusted to a government on principles of liberal construction.
To the government.
But the doctrine which is contended for is not chargeable with the consequences imputed to it. It does not affirm that the national government is sovereign in all respects, but that it is sovereign to a certain extent, that is, to the extent of the objects of its specified powers. Therefore, a criterion of what is constitutional and of what is not so. This criterion is the end.
And what is the criteria? Being a fiduciary, right? To administrate properly. They have an oath of office. Every officer has an oath of office. When they go against that oath of office, you can actually sue and get reparations on them for coming against you in a private person.
Which the measure relates as a mean. If the end be clearly comprehended within any of the specified powers, and if the measure have an obvious relation to that end, and is not forbidden by any particular provision of the Constitution, it may safely be deemed to come within the compass of the national authority. There is also this further criterion, which may materially assist the decision: does the proposed measure abridge a pre-existing right of any state or of any individual? If it does not, there is a strong presumption in favor of its constitutionality, and slighter relations to any declared object of the Constitution may be permitted to turn the scale. It is presumed to have been satisfactorily shown in the course of the preceding observations: 1. That the power of the government, as to the objects entrusted to its management, is, in its nature,
I don't know sovereign. Why you can't say that word.
2. That the right of erecting corporations is one inherent in, and inseparable from, the idea of sovereign power. 3. That the position, that the government of the United States can exercise no power but such as is delegated to it by its Constitution, does not militate against this principle. 4. That the word necessary, in the general clause, can have no restrictive operation derogating from the force of this principle. Indeed, that the degree in which a measure is or is not necessary, cannot be a test of constitutional right, but of expediency only. 5. That the power to erect corporations is not to be considered as an independent or substantive power, but as an incidental and auxiliary one, and was therefore more properly left to implication than expressly granted. 6. That the principle in question does not extend the power of the government beyond the prescribed limits, because it only affirms a power to incorporate for purposes within the sphere of the specified powers. And lastly, that the right to exercise such a power in certain cases is unequivocally granted in the most positive and comprehensive terms. A hope is entertained that it has, by this time, been made to appear, to the satisfaction of the President, that a bank has a natural relation to the power of collecting taxes, to that of regulating trade, to that of providing for the common defense, and that, as the bill
Common
under
defense?
consideration contemplates, the government in the light of a joint proprietor of the stock of the bank, it brings the case within the provision of the clause of the Constitution which immediately respects the property of the United States. Under a conviction that such a relation subsists, the Secretary of the Treasury, with all deference, conceives that it will result as a necessary consequence from the position that all the specified powers of government are sovereign, as to the proper objects, that the incorporation of a bank is a constitutional measure, and that the objections taken to the bill, in this respect, are ill-founded.
Are ill-founded. Let's go, guys. I'm going to get to this next document real quick. I'm just going to read the prologue for now so you guys can get an understanding. This particular document goes back to, it's called the Mystery Serpent. And it goes into information on the Navy and the organization of things around that time, 1919. Y'all know the timeline. We've been on it for 2 months. Let's go.
Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk, and drawn from the breast. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept.
So to come back and check it later,
line,
just make sure you check it. It's a good one.
Here a little, and there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to his people. Isa 28:9-11. Prologue. The disposition of being improperly curious caused me to enlist in the United States Navy in 1919. The second ship in which I served was the battleship, USS Wyoming, in which the chaplain was Father Brady. After getting accustomed to ship's routine, I began plying him with questions. First, I wanted to know all about the Catholic Church, because I had been brought up as a Baptist and did not understand his Sunday services, the first portion of which was exclusively Catholic. He gave me an old dog-eared Catholic history book and turned me loose on my own. Next, I wanted to know all about biblical history, because I could not understand it. I also wanted to know what became of the 10-tribal house of Israel, the 10 lost tribes. Father Brady admitted he did not know what became of Israel, although he believed the people still existed amidst the Gentiles in similar manner as the Jews, their brethren. I argued, however, that the Jew is readily recognized by his peculiar mental and physical characteristics, and if he is a brother of lost Israel, then, is it not logical to believe the house of Israel would have the same characteristics? If so, where were they? You cannot conceal a people who Jehovah declared to Abraham would ultimately be as numerous as the stars above and the sand on the seashore. Father Brady could not answer. On one occasion, when I inquired of him the reason for wars between Christian nations of white men, he said, "Sparks, in the first place, it is impossible to understand current events unless one inquires into turmoil of yesteryear which still had its roots in the remote past. Wars do not happen of their own accord or by accident, they are man-made. One must understand the cause of things which seem of no importance or are incomprehensible. One must discover whether or not there are secret strings moving men to action or binding them to inaction during religious, political, financial, and economical crisis which burst forth without warning and without any logical reason. One must know whether or not the rulers of nations are the real rulers or merely puppets. Above all, take the attitude of Sir Patrick Manson, 1844 to 1922, who once said, "Never refuse to see what you do not want to see, or what might go against your own cherished hypothesis or against the views of authorities." These are just the clues to follow up, as is also, and emphatically so, the thing you have never seen or heard before. The thing you cannot get a pigeonhole for is the finger point showing the way to discovery. Apparently that was meant for a challenge. I accepted it as such, and in 1931, after being transferred to the U.S. Asiatic Fleet, I joined the Masonic fraternity in quest of more light, and soon advanced to the 32nd degree in the Scottish Rite, in which I began studying the Hindu scriptures and comparing them with our Bible. That study was supplemented with the divine revelation in the Great Pyramid of Giza at Cairo, Egypt, Oriental and Occidental history in out-of-the-way books, papers,
Interesting.
pamphlets, and manuscripts which had escaped the censors.
Oh, really?
Masonically speaking, while traveling east, I met many Scottish and York Rite Masons and the light bearers for Christ stationed along the Eastern Highway. One traveler was an Indian Sikh of the Scottish Rite bodies and high in the Sikh mysteries. With his assistants, the gods, devils, and Fantasia. Masonically speaking, while traveling east, I met many Scottish and York Rite Masons and the light bearers for Christ stationed along the Eastern Highway. One traveler was an Indian Sikh of the Scottish Rite bodies and high in the Sikh mysteries. With his assistants, the gods, devils, and Fantasia in the Hindu scriptures were swept aside to reveal in the language of symbolism the entire ancient Adamic messianic prophecy foretold by our Enoch of the Adamic line of Seth. Subsequently, I began working with naval intelligence of the U.S. Asiatic Fleet and 4th Regiment of U.S. Marines. In that work and my journeys with the light bearers of Christ, high-degree Scottish and York Rite Masons, I discovered the answer to the major question which I had been seeking. Why did Jehovah form the child Wren of Israel for his kingdom on earth? Why did he need a kingdom in the material plane? Why did he send his Christ, Son of Righteousness, the man Jesus Christ, to that people to draw up a new covenant after they broke the first? If it was essential to do all of that, then is it not logical to believe the devil has always been tangible and he has a race of tangible people to sabotage and destroy God's kingdom and its work amidst man? If so, then who is the devil, and who are his people? I found the answer. Christ came into the material plane to renew the covenant with the children of Israel to destroy the devil and his race.
Really?
The Anglo-Saxon, Celtic, Scandinavian, and Nordic people are the house of Israel as God's kingdom.
Really?
The people we know as Jews are the kingdom of the devil, and he has always been their king.
Oh, shoot.
Since time immemorial, they have been known in Asia as the serpent race. There are 3 branches of this race: the Ashkenazim, Hazar, and Sephardic Jews in Christendom, and the Black Zazas in Asia. They are proud of being satanic because they say it makes them a race of God men. They hate God and man, yet for expediency, Jews in Christendom pretend to worship Jehovah and love man. In all ages they have been the sponsors and financiers of all wars. They promote Republican principles, yet they themselves have no use for them, because communism is their religion. However, they make use of our freedom, liberty, and Constitution for a screen behind which to hide while the mystery of the serpent 7 undermining our church and state and all law and order in Asia and Africa. Their system of boycotting, sabotaging, ransacking, and destruction is known as the serpent system, which is so enormous, silent, and sinister the average person in Anglo-Saxondom does not know it exists. The serpent system is the practical application of the Luciferian doctrine. It is entirely Oriental and occult. It is sponsored and directed by Satan as the uncrowned senior king of the Jews and his 12-membered cabinet, whose capital for centuries was the forbidden city of Lhasa, Tibet. Yet, since 1950, Tel Aviv, Palestine has been the capital, and Moscow, London, and New York City are the lesser capitals, screening Tel Aviv from public view. Under the king of the Jews is one roving ambassador and 2 princes who direct the international government of the devil, consisting of 1,922,627 Jews equally divided between the eastern and western hemispheres. The religion of the serpent race is anti-God, anti-Christ, and anti-communistic Satanism. The movement is spiritual and material. The former sponsors and partially finances all Oriental occultism in Christendom and the thing going under the name of scientific Christianity in order to deliberately break down and destroy all faith in and the worship of God. The material portion of that system sponsors all un-American activities, anarchistic Bolshevism, Fabianism, and socialistic communism. Behind the 2 branches stands Satan, who today is the Turco-Mongol Jew, Prince Abdul Barabubaha, whose temporary residence is Johns Hopkins University, Baltimore, Maryland, United States of America. He was brought here from Moscow, Russia by Jew Owen Latimore, and Jury's Supreme Grand Orient Freemasonic Locked of B'nai B'rith in New York City proclaimed him as Jury's God in 1950. That devil's power reaches out through B'nai B'rith to clutch the throat of every government in the world.
Uh-oh.
He is the current unseen hand, and Jews Bernard Mansbach, Felix Frankfurter, Henry Morgenthau, Jr., and you,
This might be too deep
and
for
Senator
y'all.
Herbert H. Lehman are the power in that satanic hand in America. Prior to being transferred to the U.S. Asiatic Fleet, I did not pay much attention to civilian thought. Returning home, however, I saw a people totally strangers even though they were my kindred and countrymen. The change was as drastic as though one were to walk out into bright sunlight from a dark room,
I bet.
yet the average person did not, or does he today, seem to notice any change. While reflecting on the condition, I observed the change was taking place prior to 1931, yet I had been closer to civilian thought than I realized.
1931, right
because
before the Banking Act.
I was a part of our national mind, and did not observe the gradual transformation. Home again, however, I knew the change was produced and is perpetuated by the insidious pressure of the serpent system in complete control of the very heartbeat of America through our press, radio, recorded music, television, and motion pictures, which move our people in one direction then another in vast surging tidal waves of emotion in a deliberate plot to ruthlessly debilitate our national minds so we will not contemplate the gradual undermining of church and state and even our personal lives.
Listen.
It is war to destroy the white race, a war waged by the serpent race for the pure love of evilness. I made an investigation and discovered the serpent race was dominating the field of religion through the Federal Council of Churches of Christ and the National Conference of Christians and Jews. Clergymen by the thousands were spewing forth modernism, tolerance for anti-Christian methods, mongrelization, and internationalism instead of Christ, the scriptures, the glorious plan of spiritual salvation, the preservation of our rugged white mental and spiritual superiority and initiative, and the love of our nation. To my dismay, I discovered new fair dealism had undermined the very foundation of our great republic, the Constitution of the United States of America. I found political corruption had extended its slimy tentacles from the White House to the small villages and farms so as to deliberately destroy all moral and spiritual values. I was appalled at the discovery of sex degenerates employed in our national capital. Sex degenerates. I found treason excused, betrayal of our nation condoned by the president and his administration, the armed forces sabotage, and onerous unconstitutional.
Y'all know this going on members only after this bill, guys. So please make sure you're tuned in. If you want to complete watching it and you have to step away, pause the video so that you're still in there and you'll be able to see it. But it will be going to members only. There's a lot of information on here that I really was going to share in my private group, but we didn't get the chance to with our last one. I'm going to read a little bit more of this, but I definitely won't be going into all the details. But after reading a slight bit more of this, it will be on members only. There's a lot of information in here that I really want people to get and understand. And you really need to be taking the courses to really get the gist of it, to be honest. So I hope you guys are taking notes. I've dropped links and information in the chat for you to check out. That should be very, very interesting. So let's go.
Taxes consuming the fruit of all endeavor and labor. I found the colored minorities sullen. I was appalled at the discovery of sex degenerates employed in our national capital. I found treason excused, betrayal of our nation condoned by the president and his administration, the armed forces sabotage, our natural resources deliberately wasted, and onerous unconstitutional taxes consuming the fruit of all endeavor and labor. I found the colored minorities sullen, rebellious, and in a state of turmoil, the great white majority perplexed and confused, neither one proud of its race and heritage, and the barriers let down for the destruction of all. Everywhere I turned I met defeat. My own kin laughed me to scorn. Do not be carried away with your enthusiasm, they say. Cultivate the team spirit. Forget politics, it is only the game of crooks. To hell with Christianity, it is only for feeble-minded people. Relax, enjoy yourself. Has not world turmoil come out all right in the past? A serpent race? You are crazy. My whole being revolted against such a satanic... I hope I'm
pronouncing this correctly. Zafanza, Tisvanza, I believe it is Tisvanza. Thank you for the $40 cash app. So you know who you are. If I'm mispronouncing your name, I definitely appreciate it.
System in which church dogma and doctrine, national and state legislation encourages Christian apostasy, indifference to un-American and unconstitutional activities to such an extent that the basic and fundamental structure
I
of our
love you
personal
too,
and
sister. All
national
of
life
y'all,
is in
even when I
jeopardy.
get irritated.
The mystery of the serpent nine if the elected guardians of this nation can
I
do.
swear I got a comment on this. I hate to pause it, guys. I'll remind it. Sis, literally, I love you guys so much. This is why I'm always doing this. Anybody that's been around, y'all know I've been putting hours of work in, and I make sure y'all have clarity. I'm not just putting up some, oh, let me just entertain you with this video, or let me just entertain you with some information. I'm literally trying to make sure you guys are clarifying in your minds and understanding everything I'm trying to show you guys. Literally opening the portals. I know the brother got offended early because sometimes I can be very snappy, and I'm sorry, y'all. This is just the way I am. I'm very matter of fact. I don't like playing. I don't like to be irritated. I don't like to be annoyed, especially when I'm trying to teach something. And for a person to jump in the chat and, comment on things, you guys got to really watch what you're saying, and how you're saying things. Sometimes when you're texting, it may even come off wrong, and I might take it wrong. So just be very discerning with what you're putting in the chat. If you're taking the information, then take the information. If you're asking a question, and I answer it, even if it's not a question, it might be an answer for someone else. Like, let's just keep it moving. Don't distract me with, oh no, this, all that back and forth. I don't do that. I don't have to back and forth because everything I know, I stand on solid, like for real. I don't know about nobody else, but everything I say and do, I stand on 100% solid. And I show y'all there's no question in it. So for anybody to be going back and forth with me, it just don't make sense and it gets annoying. It's distractful. So yeah, let's go.
Will do nothing about the situation. Christian apostasy, the mystery of the serpent nine if the elected guardians of this nation can do, or will do, nothing about the situation, then it is up to individuals who
That's
call
right.
themselves
Feeble
men to
minds.
try. The plot and the nature of the conspirators must be exposed. With that thought in mind, I got in communication with my former shipmates in naval intelligence and laid my plan before them and requested their assistance. It is not the business of those people to inquire into motives of cause and effect of world events. Their job is to obtain intelligence about the sponsors of conspiracy, not to seek the long-term motive behind it, and if they could give me names of the key traders in this nation, I would have invaluable data with which to work.
The key traders.
With their assistance, I began working to build a tower of truth. Soon, however, I discovered there still were American nationalists worthy of being called men with dignity and proud of their white race, men still capable of loving God and country, men still
ain't that something?
Capable of comprehending constitutional government, men backed up by their women as loyal and courageous as themselves. From our mutual work we have constructed an instrument to fight the powers of satanic darkness with the power of light for Christ, for country, for our race, for the ultimate destiny of man. It is this study, which, because of necessity, we compose in a series of pamphlets which we dedicate to America's survival in this final struggle of World War III as Armageddon, into which Jewry in America, working as one with the Jews in the Kremlin in Moscow, Russia, have plunged us in order to annihilate Christianity and the white race or perish in the attempt.
What do you guys think about this? I know of quite a few of you guys enjoyed it because y'all been in here interacting, which I really appreciate. I want you guys to make sure you grab this link, hit the notification bell for this particular or a reminder. I think it's a reminder you can hit to let you know when the video is playing. The bill with Heru is going to be fire, y'all. Like for real. It's really going to be fire. So make sure you guys are tuned in tonight at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to go in. I really didn't plan anything with the brother, but y'all already know whatever information he got, I'm gonna have something to contribute to it and let's add on to it. And we're gonna make sure y'all have a fire bill. So make sure you guys are tapped in at 8 o'clock tonight. I appreciate everyone that came in. I hope you guys enjoyed this and got a lot. Listen, I went over a lot of information. Anybody that was in and out, if you missed something, I don't know what to tell you, but it was solid information pertaining to you get it in your correct state of mind, your state of being, your governance in your mind, being able to stand in that and on that, right? Let me put it again, sis. Here it is. Put it in the chat. Okay. There you go, dear. So you guys have, if you are interested in getting in this this class that's going over everything, all this confusion with the Snyder, blah blah blah, I'm giving you the real solution. If you want to get in the class, you got to the 15th. It is $500. If you are on the high tier Patreon, it is $300. You'll be able to get in for $300. And other than that, yeah, you're gonna have to have it in by the 15th, so I can know everyone who's going to be in the class. I have to get everybody set up and enrolled so we can start the following week. So trying to make sure y'all getting at me with this. This is so important and pertinent for not only me, because I'm doing it as well. Everything that I'm showing you guys for you to do, I have done. And some things I haven't even done. I just have the everything to do it. I just haven't taken time to do it because I'm busy a lot, but we're going to go through everything. So this is going to force me to complete everything that I haven't had time or made time to do, because as I'm doing it with you guys, I'll be doing it as well. So it's a lot of things that I'm doing, guys. There's some deep, important things. Our private group, we have not met this week because we did do our last private screening, but I will be setting up. You guys know I've been setting up for this class. So once I have everybody in by the 15th and I know what's going on, I will be setting up our private group. So just check your emails to see when our first private group will start. It will be the first private study group. If you are interested in being in the study group for the book club, make sure you send me $25 through Cash App. Put it in there for which book club you're in, the legalities or the banking. There's 2 different book clubs we're going to be doing. So it's a lot going on, guys, and I'm trying to do everything and make sure I satisfy everybody with what they need. So we're going to be doing this. So peace, love, and bliss. Actually, I'm going to play a video before I get out of here. Hold on a second, guys. Let me find the video I wanted to play, you guys. Is this the one? Oh, yeah. This is not the one, but I'll play this one. This is a quick little 2-minute one. So yes, guys, let me get this going for you guys real quick. I am out after this. You guys are the best of everything. Everything that is in me, I want to pour into you. Anything that you have that is a positive nature that is beneficial to me, please feel free to pour into me. Nothing but love, honor, and respect to everyone that is dedicated to getting this information to free themselves, because it's nothing but the inner you that has to have that freedom. Your mind. Okay, let's go.
What's good, y'all? Okay, so the birth certificate, right? When you get authenticated, when it comes back from the federal level, it's going to look like this right here. All right. When it come back from the state level, it's going to look something like that right there. So it'll be your state. On the federal level, it takes about 6 weeks. On the state level, it took about a week and a half. You know what I'm saying? I went and got my a few of my bills printed out on bond paper so we can endorse those. Get those.
Listen, tell me you ain't a servant. No, let me stop
this. Office also yesterday. You know
we gotta talk, sis. Make sure you hit me, babe.
For my trust.
You welcome, Food Chill. You already know, brother.
And yeah, you guys, the receipts that they send you guys for your EIN number for your trust or whatever, make sure you keep.
Yeah, we can have a private convo, sis. Make sure you hit me, babe. I'm open to that. I want you to
provide that. These right here, this is the it's a claim, tender of payment. I'm finna send those out. Capital One, PG&E. We finna get all that stuff paid off. I went and got my foreign trust address. You guys been asking about that. I got mine from iPostal. It's about $15 a month, and they scan your mail straight to your email, bro. And that's what you use for your foreign address, so you could be a private person. And that's it. Yeah, make sure you have your registered mail slips. You know what I'm saying? So you can put those in your documents. You can put those, you know what I'm saying, inside there. So you got proof that you did send those forms to them. If they try to say anything. And you guys, basically, we still on it. Still pushing, still striving.
Push, private trust.
Pushing with me. You know what I'm saying? We all pushing together, y'all. So let's get this paperwork.
That's what's up, sis. You already know we the real ones. All right, guys. I'll see you guys this evening at 8. Make sure you guys tune in. It's gonna definitely be fire. Much love, peace, and energy to everybody.